Back to Cinderella Math. Today I'll be doing a page that a tutoring student has brought to me. It is mixed fraction operations and also solving one-step equations, but they involve fractions. This particular student cannot use a calculator for her class, but if you can use a calculator, that's fine, but I'm going to be cranking everything by hand. Alrighty, so this particular student is in sixth grade, but I would say this lesson could probably go from like fifth, sixth, seventh, or if you're even older and just really looking to master those fraction skills, it's for everybody. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get started. I have the paper here. I'm not going to be doing all these problems because that would just be a bit too much. So I'll probably do like maybe 5 from each section, like a good mix. I will rewrite the question here. So you can see the student has started this. I took off her name for her privacy there. And yeah, let's just go ahead and get started. I think I'll just come down this left-hand side. And if I feel like we need more from the top section, we can. Let's see. So I'm going to look there at number 1. We have 2 and 1/4 plus x, and then they'd say, comma, x is equal to 2 and 1/8. So this topic here, you could call this an expression. This part right here is an expression because it does not have an equal. And then you could also say that we're doing something called a replacement value. So this x right here, they tell us after the comma that x is 2 and 1/8. So we are replacing the x with what it actually equals, and in this case, it equals 2 and 1/8. So pick this guy up and plug him in for x. So now we have 2 and 1/4 plus 2 and 1/8. Now we cannot do this until we get a common denominator. So there's 2 ways to do this. I will do it both ways one time, and then I'll probably pick my favorite for the subsequent times. You can just leave the whole numbers. So I'm going to leave this 2, and I'm going to leave this 2. I'm going to leave the plus. And then let's get a common denominator for the fractional pieces. So look at your denominators. We have a 4 and we have an 8. The least common denominator would be 8. So we need this denominator to be 8 and this one to be 8. Well, the second one is already 8. So we're just going to leave that one as 1/8. How do we go from 4 to 8? Well, we double it, right? So we're going to times by 2 times by 2, which will give us 2. Okay, now add your big numbers, your whole numbers. 2 plus 2 is 4, and add your fractions. 2/8 plus 1/8 would make 3/8. That does not reduce, and you have the answer. Okay, that's one method where we left the whole numbers alone and kind of just worked with the fractional pieces. Here's the second method. Let's take it back to the green question. 2 and 1/4 plus 2 and an 1/8. You can turn these into improper. I probably have another video for that if you look under my middle school math playlist. It should be there. So turn these to improper. You do the bottom times the big number. So 2 times 4 is 8, and then you add the top. So that would be 8, 9. So 9/4 plus, do this again, 2 times 8 is 16 plus 1 would be 17/8. And then get a common denominator from there. The common denominator for 4 and 8 is still 8. So they need to be both 8. The second one already is, so we're just going to leave that 17. 4 times 2 is 8. 9 times 2 makes 18. Add that together and we get 35/8. So this is also the answer, but this particular student, I'm pretty sure her teacher wanted it to go back to mixed number. So let's convert it back to mixed number. We do 35 divide 8. That goes in 4 times, which is 32. Subtract, and you get 3 left over. So the whole number is 4, the remainder is 3, and the denominator is still 8. Answer. I personally think the top method is a little easier, but it doesn't matter. Whatever is easier for you, go for it. And of course, if you can use a fraction calculator, go for that too. You do whatever you need. But I'm doing this all by hand because that was the expectation for this student here. That was number 1. I'm coming straight down, so this is going to be number 4. Pause me anytime if I'm going too fast, or if you're working alongside me and you need to stop and write. This is number 4. Y minus 2 and 3/5, comma, y is 5 and 4/5. So again, let's replace this y in our expression with what they tell us it is right there. So y is 5 and 4/5, subtract 2 and 3/5. We can actually do this. They have a common denominator, so we're good to go. 5 minus 2 for our whole number would be 3, and subtract the fractions. 4/5 minus 3/5 is 1/5. Answer. Okay, I will do another subtraction. I'll still go down the left and I'll come back. Let me remind myself to do another subtraction out here because that was on the easy side since they already had a common denominator. Okay. Coming straight down, we're on number 7. We have 3/5 s, comma, s is 2. You know, if a number and a variable are right next to each other, they're being multiplied. If you need to, put in the multiplication dot. Okay, but the older you get, the more higher up in math you get, they'll just start running them together. Okay? So we're going to take the s out and we're going to plug in 2 because it says s equals 2. Put that in. So this is going to be 3/5 times 2. When you have a whole number, it's over an invisible 1. Go ahead and write that. Okay, for multiplication, check and see if we can cross reduce, or sometimes it's called cross cancel. Does anything go into 3 and 1? No, that's fine. Does anything go into 2 and 5? Nah, that's fine too. So now you're going to multiply right across the top. We do not need a common denominator for this. Just go right across the top. So 3 times 2 is 6. Right across the bottom, 5 times 1 is 5. This is the answer, but it's improper. So let's turn it. 5 goes into 6 one time with a remainder of 1. So our whole number is 1, and the leftover fraction is 1/5. Okay, I'll do another multiply 2 because that was a little on the easy side. Because it was a whole number. Whole numbers are always going to be relatively straightforward. The S was 2. Good news though, coming straight down, number 10 is a multiplication as well. So coming to 10, we have 6 and 2/7 p, comma, p is a half. So let's plug in a half where you see p, and again, these are being multiplied. We don't actually see the multiply, but in higher level math, when stuff is just written side by side, it is implied multiplication. So that's now 6 and 2/7 times a half. We do need to convert this one into improper. Again, I have a video on that under my middle school math playlist. If you want to check that out, feel free. You do the bottom times the whole number. So 7 times 6 is 42, and then add the top. So 42 plus 2 would be 44. Keep the denominator times a half. Let's check and see if we can cross reduce. 1 and 7, nah. If you have a 1, you're not going to be able to cross reduce. But how about 44 and 2? Well, they're both even, so we could divide these by 2. 44 divide 2 is 22. 2 divide 2 is 1. Now go right across the top. 22 times 1 is 22. Right across the bottom, 7 times 1 is 7. This is answer, but it's improper. Let's divide. 22 divided by 7, that would go in 3 times, which is 21. Subtract. So that gives us 3 as our whole number, 1 as the remainder, and it's still out of 7. This is answer, this is answer. Some teachers prefer the improper, some teachers prefer the mixed. As you get older, if you're in high school, you're probably just going to leave it improper. Middle school, ask your teacher what they prefer, or follow the directions on your page. And now number 13 is a division. So we have x divided 1 1/2 equals 4 1/2. Oh, sorry. x equals 4.5, my bad. Comma, x equals 4.5. Okay, so let's replace x with 4.5. So we have 4.5 divided 1.5. Okay, we do need to go ahead and convert these both into improper. That's how we like to do multiplication and division. So you multiply, so that'd be 8, and then add. So that'd be 9, keep the bottom, multiply, add. So that would be 3, keep the bottom. Okay, and now we have a trick for division. I probably have a whole nother video on this. Again, look on the middle school playlist. It's probably old, that's why I'm not remembering, but I think I do. Where the trick for dividing fractions is we actually don't. We have a method called keep, change, flip. You're going to keep the first fraction, change the division to a times, and flip or do the reciprocal of the second. So flip that second guy around to be 2/3. Can we cancel or cross reduce? 2 and 2, yeah, we can divide by 2. 2 divide 2 is 1. 2 divide 2 is 1. And the other way, 9 and 3, we can divide by 3. 9 divide 3 is 3. 3 divide 3 is 1. Go right across the top. 3 times 1 is 3. Right across the bottom, 1 times 1 is 1. Anything over 1 is just a whole number, so this is 3. Okay. I'm not giving lots of detail about why that works or anything right now. Just want to work these problems, but if you need more detail, please leave a comment. What else was I going to say? Why are we doing this cross reducing? It makes your life easier, especially if you can have a calculator, you don't really need to do it. But if you have to crank this all by hand, it makes your computation so much easier if you can cross reduce. Okay. I made a note to do one more subtraction, so let me find one because the one we did, number 4, was on the easy side. Um, let's look at 5, please. And then I think I'll do 5, 11, and 14. I'll do a couple more out of this section. These are pretty tricky. So starting with 5, we have y minus 2 and 3/5, where y is 4 and 7/10. So let's take that and plug it in for y. So we have 4 and 7/10 minus 2 and 3/5. Well, we can't add or subtract, in this case, until we have a common denominator. So I'm going to keep our whole numbers. I'm keeping the 4, keeping the 2, keep the minus, and look at your denominators, 10 and 5. The least common denominator for 10 and 5 would be 10. So we're going to keep these denominators as 10 and change this one to 10. So the first one was already 10, so we'll keep the 7 up top. 5 times what is 10? Well, you got to double it, right? So we're timesing by 2. We got to times by 2, which would make 6. Subtract. 4 minus 2 is 2. And now 7/10 minus 6/10 is 1/10. Okay, that's the first method for that. That's where I just left it as in mixed numbers. Go back to the blue step. So I'm going to write in green now. 4 and 7/10 minus 2 and 3/5. You could turn this improper, so that'd be 47/10 minus, and turn this, so that'd be 13/5. And now you could say like, okay, I need a common denominator, which would be 10. I'm going to come up here for room. So this needs to be 10 minus this needs to be 10. Well, the first one's already 10, so I would leave it. Times by 2, times by 2. 13 times 2 is 26. Yay, I can do this now. Keep the denominator, and 47 minus 26 is 21. This is the answer. But again, that's improper, and I know this student, I'm pretty sure her teacher wants it mixed. So we would do 21 divide 10. That goes in twice, which is 20. Subtract and 1. So we get the final answer of 2 is our whole number, remainder 1 out of 10. I think the top way is a little easier, but you do what's best for you. That's why I'm showing both methods there. Okay. And again, now I'm going to do one more multiply, one more divide. So I'm going to come down to 11, which is another multiply. 11 is 6 and 2/7 p, where p is 7/3. So we're going to pick that up, put that in for p. And again, if you need to put that dot there, these are being timesed. So we have 6 and 2/7 times 7/3. We need this one to turn improper. So that would be 42 plus 2, so 44/7 times 7/3. Try to cross cancel if possible. Yes, indeed, possible here because 7 and 7 we can divide by 7. 7 divided 7 is 1. 7 divided 7 is 1. Check the other way. I don't think those have any common factors, so I don't think we can cross reduce that way. Go right across the top. 44 times 1 is 44, and 1 times 3 is 3. This is a correct answer if you're allowed to leave it improper. If you're not, just go ahead and divide it out. 44 divide 3. Well, 3 goes into 4 one time, which is 3. Subtract, drop down. 3 goes into 14 4 times, which is 12. Subtract. So the whole number would be 14, the remainder is 2, and the denominator stays 3. So this is the improper answer, this is the mixed. And that was 11. And the last one I'm going to do out of this section is another division. If we please come to 14. 14 is x divided 3 and 1/4, where x is a fourth. So we're going to take a fourth and plug it in for x. So we have a fourth divided 3 and a fourth. We do need to turn this improper. So the first one's fine. Keep it as a fourth. Divide. Do your little trick. Multiply. That'd be 12. Add. That would be 13. And we keep the bottom. And then we do not divide fractions. Every single time we're dividing a fractions, we do this method. Keep and change and flip. Keeping the first one, changing to multiply, flipping or the reciprocal of the second one. Any cross reduction? Yeah, 4 and 4. We can do that. We can divide by 4. 4 divide 4 is 1. 4 divide 4 is 1. How about the other way? No. Whenever there's a 1 in your crossways, you won't be able to reduce. But check it anyway. Go right across the top. 1 times 1 is 1. Right across the bottom, 1 times 13 is 13. That is the answer. Okay, so I did, about half of that section. If you want, here, I'll zoom in a little bit. If you're needing more examples, go ahead, take a screenshot or pause the video here. I'm coming on down to the second section. It says use mental math to solve, but I mean, if your mental math is great, go for it. But for the most part, these just require some pencil and paper work, in my opinion. I want to try to do one of each type, which it looks like if I just go across the top row here. Oops, covered up a number. All right, so I'm starting with 16. This is solving one-step equations with fractions. So I'm going for 16. We have x plus 5 and 3/4 equals 5 and 7/8. We have two options again on this, which I'll do both. So to solve an equation, I like to draw this line down the equals. If you don't do that, start doing it. It really does help keep your work organized. And now the joke I like to make is our letter, so in this case x, our variable, is grumpy. And no one wants to hang out with him. So you need to do the opposite of what you see to move that number away from the x. So since we see a plus, we are going to do minus 5 and 3/4. Get it off, get it off, get it off. That cancels out. But with equations, whatever you do to one side, you need to do to the other. And that's where the line really kind of can help. So we're going to minus 5 and 3/4. Now we're left with x equals what? Well, I can't subtract because they don't have a common denominator. So I'm going to leave the whole numbers. I'm going to leave the subtraction. Look at your denominator. We have 8 and 4. The least common denominator for those would be 8. So we're going to make those 8. Well, the first one was already 8, so we'll leave 7/8. And how do you go from 4 to 8? You double it, right? So we're going to times 2, which will make this 6. 5 minus 5 is nothing. You can write 0, but you don't need to. Fractions, 7/8 minus 6/8 is 1/8. And there's our answer. Okay, that is me leaving it in mixed numbers. I'm now going to do the same problem, but put it into improper. So still doing 16. X plus 5 and 3/4 equals 5 and 7/8. You would just still draw the line, but immediately turn everything improper. So that would be 20 plus 3, so 23/4. 40 plus 7, so 47/8. And then X is still grumpy, so you would still subtract, do the opposite of what you see, get off, and subtract. Can't subtract because we don't have a common denominator. 8 and 4, our common denominator would be 8. Well, the first one's already 8, so let's just leave that. You would have to double this, double that. 23 doubled is 46. 47 minus 46 is 1/8. Answer. It doesn't matter which way you go. Whatever feels most comfortable to you, do it. Okay. That was 16. I'm coming to 17. 17. We have 1/2 y equals a 12th. And again, these are multiplied. If you need to put the dot, feel free. Draw your line. Y, our letter, our variable, is grumpy. Do the opposite of what you see. Well, I see multiply, so we're going to divide a half. Get off. Always the opposite will cancel off there. And then we're going to divide a half. But we don't divide fractions. We keep, we change, we flip. Keep, change, flip. Try to cross reduce if possible. 2 and 12, yeah, they're both even. We can divide by 2. 2 divide 2 is 1. 12 divide 2 is 6. Go right across the top. 1 times 1 is 1. Right across the bottom. 6 times 1 is 6. Answer. If you would have had mixed numbers on that, you would have needed to turn them improper and then go. That was 17. I'm coming to 18. We have z minus 8 1/3 is 12 1/2. Solve. This is one where you could do it 2 ways. I will leave them whole numbers first. So again, z is grumpy. We do the opposite of what we see. We see a minus, so let's do plus. That will cancel, which is what we want because the grumpy guy is alone. And we have to be fair, so we'll do plus here. I'm going to leave the big numbers. And we need a common denominator for 2 and 3. So go through your 2's times tables and your 3 times tables. The first number that they share, their least common multiple, is 6. So we're changing to 6. This one you would have to times by 3, which would give us 3. And here you times by 2, which would give us 2. And now we can add. 12 plus 8 is 20. And 3/6 plus 2/6 is 5/6. Okay, that's just leaving it purely in mixed number form. That is number 18. Pause me if you're still copying or pondering that. I will do 18 again with the other method. Okay, this is still 18. We still have z minus 8 1/3 equals 12 1/2. Still draw the line, but this time, let's just get rid of the mixed numbers. Let's turn them all improper. So this would be 24 plus 1, so 25, keep the denominator. That would be 24 plus 1, so 25, keep the denominator. And now Z is grumpy. Let's do the opposite. So we're going to add 25 thirds, get off, and we're going to add 25 thirds. Well, those can't add because they don't have a common denominator. Common denominator for 2 and 3, or their least common multiple, would be 6. Turning to 6, turning to 6. You'd have to times by 3, which would give us 75, times by 2, which would give us 50. Now we can add and get 125 over 6. 25 divide 6, that goes in twice, which is 12. And that goes in no times. And there we go. So we would get 20 and remainder 5 out of 6, which was the same answer I got before. I think this one is a little more work, but if you prefer it, do it. And now coming to 19. We have W divided by 9/20 is 5/9. Solve. There's no mixed numbers. If there was, on multiply and divide, you should immediately turn them. But these are all regular fractions, so we're good. Do the opposite of what you see. We see division, so that means we're going to do times 9/20. That'll cancel, and we'll do it over here. So W equals, see if we can cross reduce. 9 nines, yep, we can divide by 1. Divide by, excuse me, we can divide by 9. 9 divide 9 is 1. 9 divide 9 is 1. And now the other way, 5/20, yeah, we could divide by 5. 5 divide 5 is 1. 20 divide 5 is 4. Go right across the top. 1 times 1 is 1. Right across the bottom, 1 times 4 is 4. And that is solving one-step equations with fractions. It's not fun. It's not. It does take a lot of work. Try to keep your work as neat as possible. You got this. Here is the more of those from 20 to 23. If you'd like to copy any of those down and try them on your own, feel free. Okay, and finally, I'll do just a few out of this mixed review, this adding and subtracting. Again, I think I have videos for both adding and subtracting on my channel under the middle school playlist if you'd like to check that out. Again, I think I'll just come down the left. So I'm looking at 24, 7/8 minus 3/4. Can't do it, need a common denominator, 8 and 4. The common denominator would be 8. So we're going to keep this one. How do you go from 4 to 8? You double it. And so we have 7/8 minus 6/8, which is 1/8. That does not reduce. You're done. That was 24. 28. 4/5 minus 3/7. Ooh, we need a common denominator. Go through your 5s times tables and your 7s times tables. The first number that would be in both is 35. So that's going to be our least common multiple or least common denominator. You'd have to times this one by 7, so do the same right here. 7 times 4 is 28. You'd have to times this one by 5, do the same right here to be fair, so that's 15. That would give us 13/35. That does not reduce. We're done on 28. And last one I'm going to do here is 32. We do have 3 pieces, and I'll do this one the 2 different methods. So we have 4.5 plus 2.25 plus 1 1/8. So the first method is where I just leave the big numbers, the whole numbers. Okay. And now look at the fractions. All 3 of them. 2, 4, 8. We need a common denominator for all of those. We could turn them all to 8. So this needs to be an 8, an 8, an 8. Well, hey, the last one was an 8, so we're just going to leave that one. He's fine. How do you go from 2 to 8? You times it by 4. So do this by 4 to be fair, so that would be 4. How do you go from 4 to 8? You double it. So let's times by 2, times by 2, so that would be 2. Okay, now add your big numbers. 4 plus 2 plus 1, 7. And add your fractions. 4 plus 2 plus 1 would be 7/8. Answer. That is 32. Now I will do 32 again, but I will do it where you turn everything to improper first. And again, neither is better than the other. You're going to do the method that works best for you. So again, we have 4.5 plus 2 1/4 plus 1 1/8. Okay, turning to mixed, or excuse me, turning to improper. Multiply, so that'd be 8 plus 1, so that's 9. Keep the denominator. That's 8 plus 1, so that's 9. Keep the denominator. That's 8 plus 1, so that's 9. Keep the denominator. Now we need a common denominator. For 2, 4, 8, we could turn them all to 8. So this needs to be 8, this needs to be 8, this needs to be 8. 2 times what is 8? Times 4. That would be 36. 4 times what is 8? 2. So that would be 18. And 8 times, okay, that was already 8, so we'll just leave that one. Now add across the top. 36 plus 18 plus 9. So 36 and 18 makes 54 plus 9 makes 63. That is the improper answer. Divide to get your mixed number. That goes in 7 times with 7 left over. So 7 and 7/8. Answer, answer. Again, I think the first method's a little easier, but it doesn't matter what I think. I want to show you 2 methods that would both work. All right. Real fast, I'm going to do 33. It's subtracting with mixed numbers. 4 3/8 minus 2 3/4. This one, if you try to just leave the mixed numbers, let's actually write it vertically. You cannot subtract that because they do not have a common denominator. 8 and 4, well, you could turn them to 8. So we're going to turn to 8, turn to 8. This one was already 8, so just leave it. This one we double, so that would be 6. Okay? If you try to subtract, can you do 3 subtract 6? No, I mean, it's negative, but we typically don't go negatives with fractions unless we really have to. So what we're going to do is we're going to borrow from this guy right here. You're going to take this number and knock it down to a 3, and you're going to borrow a 1 whole. So you're going to add 1. But wait, our denominator is 8. So 1 is really 8/8. So this is now 11/8. And this is still 6/8. Now can we subtract? 11 minus 6, sure, that's 5/8. And then 3 minus 2 is 1. Answer. In my opinion, that's probably the harder way to do this one. Is you got to borrow, add a 1, which is really 8/8. It kind of gets weird. It works. Works all day long, but it's a little bit tricky. Here's what I would recommend on the subtracting. To just go ahead and turn them to improper. So same question here, 33. Multiply, so that's 32 plus 3, so that'd be 35/8 minus, that's 8 plus 3, so 11/4. Common denominator for 4 and 8 would be 8. So let's turn this to 8, which it already was. Let's turn this to 8, so we times by 2, and we get 22. Subtract, that's 13/8, and then divide would be, goes in once with 5 left over. So that would be 1 5/8, which is what I got before. I just think this was a little easier. But again, doesn't matter what I think. You do whatever you like. Okay, I know that was kind of quick. I've actually got another student here coming on any second. But I hope that was helpful and that you're having a great day. Yeah, see you soon. Bye-bye.